Welcome back. In this tutorial, we're going to cover inclined ortho number 2. So incline 2, let's ask our questions. A, let's get out of the way. Does it have symmetry? No, it does not. B, how do we describe the shape / how many chunks could we tear it into? I would say that it's kind of a block with a notch cut out of it and an angled cut. How many chunks could we tear it into? It would say maybe one here and one here. There's a couple different ways we could break it down. But looking at it, I would say that this is a good part to start with material subtraction. And so we're going to make our base 3 1/4 by 1 3/4 by 1 3/4 solid, and then go from there. So we'll start sketch on the top and throw in a 2-point center rectangle and extrude that 1.75. Now, again, in keeping with the theme of let's get the easy stuff done first, right here is a rectangular notch, 0.5 wide by full depth, and we're just going to go ahead and throw that in real quick. So we're going to sketch on the top. We're going to put in a 2-point rectangle that is 1.75 by 0.5. And we can extrude that as a cut 1.25 because we know that this is a 1/2 inch. So now it's starting to look like my example. The next thing I need to do is I need to cut this notch out. And so let's take a look at this angled line. Now here we are given a numerical value for the angle. We don't know where it ends up except at the back. We know that this line starts 0.5 over from that cut that we just made. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a sketch on top. We're going to place a point along the front and then dimension that point as a 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to draw a line, 40-degree angle. Now if we look at our example, I've got a pretty good amount of real estate here. But if we look at my CAD that we're working on, I don't have a lot of real estate here. So what did I do wrong? What I did wrong was the value of this angle is 40 degrees from this vertical line. So from this angled line back to this line, this has to be 50. So since Inventor asked me for the angle between the angled line and the front of the part, I'm going to revise that dimension to be 50. Now we've got a couple of errors that just happened, and the first being that this point is not coincident with this line. Not a problem. We'll put a coincident constraint between this point and this line, and then I can just trim off this, except for this isn't projected. So let's just go ahead and keep working through this part. So I'm going to draw another line, and I know that this line here, which I'm kind of drawing, it's hidden inside here, this corner. It stops a little bit from the back corner, which is this line that I'm drawing here. So I'm going to make that a little bit from the back corner. Now there's a couple more dimensions that I still need. I'm going to put a parallel constraint, and that's going to go between my black line and this blue line. And I also, when I look at my part, I see that I have a note that says slot is 1 inch wide. Now, in all fairness, a slot typically is dimensioned from line to line, perpendicular between the two faces. That's not the case here. I don't like the way that this is worded. That 1 inch wide refers to this length of this line right here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to dimension between those 2 points 1 inch. And then I'm going to fill in the rest of my cut profile. Now I should be able to trim off that segment. And if we look at our home view, it kind of looks like we want it to look. So we're going to finish sketch and extrude that as a cut. And then the question is, how far down? Well, we know that this cut is 1.25, and if you project this line over, it is not at the same height. We know that our whole part is 1 3/4, but this assumption here of this cut being 0.75 is incorrect. because this triangular face is actually 1/4 of an inch lower than this face over here. Adding up our dimensions, twice 3/4 is 1.5. We know that this height from the bottom is 1 3/4. So this sits 1/4 of an inch below this. And the angled cut here and the isometric angle can kind of play tricks. So the length of this cut is actually 1 inch. So we're going to come back over, we're going to change this to 1 and hit OK. And now we can see that this and this are still at the same height. So the last thing we need to do is take this down 1/4 of an inch. This is super easy. We're going to sketch on the triangle. We're going to project geometry, pick the triangular face, and notice now I have an outline of my face. That is now a valid closed profile. I don't have to draw anything. I can extrude that as a cut 0.25, and now I'm done. So that's going to do it for that one. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next video.